Defining and measuring athletic greatness, if you're looking beyond stats and championships, is never easy. Consider the case of Steve Nash and Steph Curry. They're both two-time MVPs of the NBA, a league mostly dominated by genetically freakish giants. And yet they're both listed at an unassuming 6'3", appearing to be everyman in nearly every way. Ditto Tom Brady, the quarterback with the New England Patriots. It's possible Brady will go down as the greatest player of his generation, or certainly one of them. But as one internet wit rightly pointed out when Brady's doughy torso was exposed via shirtless paparazzi photos last month, Brady now has more Super Bowl rings than visible abs, which would have been true if Brady owned precisely one Super Bowl ring, let alone 5. The holy grail of sports science, learning how stars such as Tom Brady think the game, and replicating it, is no pipe dream. Adam Glanzman, Getty Images. File photo. Of course, having watched the incredible careers of Nash, Curry and Brady unfold, we've come to know that they, like many athletes who don't conform to the cookie-cutter archetype of their sport, possess a greatness that transcends their relatively unremarkable bodies. There's an emerging field of sports science that would suggest much of that greatness resides in their superior brains. Such is the territory mind in the performance cortex, How Neuroscience is Redefining Athletic Genius, the timely book by Zach Schonbrun that's lately been name-checked by more than a few influential sports thinkers, among them Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban and track coach Stuart McMillan, he of Andre DeGrasse fame. The book introduces readers to DeCervo, a baseball-focused company founded by a pair of neuroscientists who have developed what they say is a previously untapped method to measure and train a batter's ability to recognize pitches. That rare ability, according to DeCervo's work studying hitters hooked up to devices that measure brain activity, isn't simply a matter of reaction time or hawk-eyed vision. It's at least partly attributable to the region of the brain known as the fusiform gyrus, the same region that allows, say, expert bird watchers to see a flash of red feathers and know they've seen a pileated woodpecker. Some brains, as it turns out, are better than others at quickly recognizing the difference between a fastball and a slider, which has helped the folks at DeCervo begin to explain to a college coaching staff why a particularly athletic-looking player with an otherwise sweet swing can't hit to save his life. Seen through this lens, success at the plate isn't simply about weight room work ethic or even proper mechanics. It's about the effectiveness of one's neural processor, a prowess that the company says can be measured and trained. DeCervo is currently working with a number of MLB teams. Article continued below. We're helping baseball teams find the million-dollar brain. Jason Sherwin, one of DeCervo's co-founders, is quoted as saying in the book. Schonbrun, in a recent interview, acknowledged the melding of sports and neuroscience remains nascent. But the possibilities raised by its emergence are vast and intriguing. Nash and Curry were drafted 15th and 7th overall in their respective drafts. For instance, Brady was famously taken 199th. But what if, in the future, teams will have the ability to examine prospects with brain-analyzing tools that could help them better identify, say, Brady's legendary ability to read a play, or Nash's uncanny court vision? If there's a combine that tests the body's limits, why not one that measures the brain's? This technology, this information, is going to come, Schonbrun said. And teams that are ahead of the curve are going to benefit from it, not that there won't be complications along the way. There's already been pushback from players' unions around the use of wearable technology that measures various biometric markers. It's hard to imagine there won't be vigorous discussions should teams attempt to strap brain sensors to a draft prospect to take a look under the hood. Putting on a head cap and screening decision-making mechanisms, you could argue, is even more invasive and more dangerous in terms of how it can be used against a guy, Schonbrun said. But we're in this age of analytics where more info, more numbers, more data is better. Anything that gives teams more information, I think, is valuable. And this is information that has never been able to be accessed before. It's not simply teams that might be interested in using neuroscience to gain an edge. Sherwin, speaking over the phone in a recent interview, said that when he spoke on a panel with former NBA Commissioner David Stern a while back, Stern suggested DeServo's technology might also help the officials who call games. To that end, this past weekend, when the NHL held a combine for officials in Buffalo, the would-be referees and linesmen spent time working with iPad-based software designed by DeServo to speed the recognition of NHL standard judgment calls such as boarding and tripping and hooking. In the push to expand the ready pool of top-class game callers, there's a hope that the principles gleaned from neural research can accelerate the process of becoming an NHL-ready official. Article continued below. I know, DeServo likes to call it brain training. I guess it is. We just call it officiating training, said Stephen Walkham, the NHL's director of officials. If we can speed up their learning on the standards we want to enforce, it would help them move along the learning curve before they hit the ice. Sherwin figures it's only a matter of time before hockey, among other sports, embraces the idea of neural-based training and testing for its players. The brain and the nervous system, that's really the final frontier, said Sherwin. You think about it. There's something Brady has learned to see that many others have not. And what we are trying to do is teach that. We're trying to teach that in a more efficient way. How do we get the Tom Brady knowledge base into more quarterbacks? That's, ideally, what we would be able to do. Dave Feschuk is a Toronto-based sports columnist. Follow him on Twitter, @DefezChuck.